So, for the last week or so, we have been talking about the order of operations. We've been talking about all the different things we can do with numbers. And yesterday, when I was gone, I believe Gina introduced you guys to variables. Okay, so let's write that down. Variables. Oh, you're okay. Variables. So, can anyone in here tell me, what did you learn about variables yesterday? What's a variable?
An unknown number.
An unknown number. It's just a number we don't know. And it's usually written as a letter, right? So, I'm going to say variables. A number we don't know. It's usually written as a letter. So, we can also say that a variable is just that placeholder, the letter that we choose, and we can give that letter a value. We can say that that letter stands for this number. So I'm going to give you an example, and we're going to go through this together. So let's write examples. So what if I gave you 3 plus n times 2, and I tell you that n is 5. N is equal to 5.
So you have 3 plus 5 times 2.
Perfect, perfect. So you would just take that n and replace it with the 5 I give you. It would be the same thing as, here, let's use some color. 3 plus 5 times 2. And this one's going out. Perfect. So how'd you find out it was 13?
Because you take 5 times 2.
Uh-huh.
10 plus 3 is 13.
Perfect. First we would do 5 times 2, which is 10. We still have 3 plus 10. And 3 plus 10 is 13. Very good. Very good. Yes, it all comes together. So what if we do something a little bit trickier? What if I were to give you, let's say 2 times n minus 4, and this time n equals -3. This time n is a negative number. So first of all, whenever we plug in our variable, -3, how would I rewrite my problem with the...
2 times -3.
Good. 2 times -3, and if you want, sometimes seeing the -3, you might think it's -3. If it helps, we can put it in parentheses just to show that this is -3, and then -4 at the end. So we're just replacing n with -3.
Now you take 3 times 2.
Yes, but let's be careful. Is it 3 times 2 or?
2 times -3.
Yes, don't forget that it is a -3. Yes. So what would this give us? What is 2 times -3? -6. Good. So remember, a positive number times a negative number gives us a negative answer. So now we have -6
Minus -4.
just -4.
Yeah.
-6 minus 4.
-2.
-2. Let's see. Is it -2?
-10.
-10. Okay, so is it -2 or -10? Let's talk about it.
Because if it's a minus, why would it be a -4?
So that's a great question. Let's look. We have a negative number minus a positive number. I have negative 6 minus 4. If we think all the way back to the first couple days of class, we can do this thing where we change. Remember the keep, change, change? I'm going to keep my negative 6, change to a plus, change to a negative 4. So negative 6 plus negative 4 is what? Negative 10. Remember, subtracting a number is the same thing as adding a negative. So this is the same thing as negative 6 plus negative 4, which is negative 10. Good. Very good. Do we have any questions on that one?
Yeah, the question.
Yes.
Est-ce que pour plus simple pour plus simple pour un dégradé, puisque si il y en a qui plus moins sur place, il y a un petit peu longtemps,
Another example? Oh, okay, yes. Okay, so everyone, let's do a few more just like this so that we can see that there is a pattern. Okay, let's do a few more problems. Let's do some practice on subtracting from negative numbers. Okay, let's draw a number line for this one as well. So here's our number line. And we're starting with negative 6. So here's 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10. Okay, and I'll just draw some more. Right, okay, so negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Okay, so if our starting number is negative 6, this is where we start. And then I'm subtracting 4. Am I going to go to the left to subtract 4? Or am I going to go to the right to subtract 4? To the left. When we subtract, we go towards the negative numbers where the numbers get smaller. So I'm going to go minus 4, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. So let's see, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10. You see that? When we subtract 4, we're going and making the numbers smaller. But a bigger negative number is actually a smaller number. Negative 10 is less than negative 6. All right? Let's do another one really similar though. What if I gave you negative 3 minus 5? Negative 3 minus 5. Let's see. Draw our number line. Here's 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So here's our starting point. Negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Oops, I should probably make this longer. Negative 7, negative 8. Okay, so I'm starting at negative 3. And I want to take away 5. I'm subtracting 5. So am I going to go 5 to the right to subtract or 5 to the left? To the left. So let's see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our answer would be negative 8. So you can see if I have negative 3 minus 5, it's the same thing as negative 3 plus negative 5. Because 3 plus 5 is 8. Negative 3 plus negative 5 is negative 8. And you can see if we start at negative 3 and take away 5, we do land on negative 8. Let's do another one like that. I think these can be the trickiest to do. These are tricky. let's see. How about negative 12 minus 2?
This would be -10,
Let's see.
14.
Ooh, I hear negative 10, I hear negative 14.
I had to redo my math.
Yes. So here, let's start. Our starting point is negative 12. Remember, as numbers get smaller, the negatives go negative 13, negative 14, negative 15, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, and then it would keep going in both directions. So negative 12 minus 2. Let's start at negative 12. What direction do I go to subtract 2? Left. Good. So I'm going to go minus 1 minus 2. And what would my answer be?
-14.
-14. It's a little different. -14. So let's write this. Negative 12 minus 2 is negative 14. You could also think of it as negative 12 plus negative 2. 12 plus 2 is 14, and it's negative. You guys see that? Do we have any more questions? Does that help, Jean? Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. Any other questions about these? Yes, yes.
What if you had negative 12 minus negative 2?
That's a great question. Let's talk about that. Can I move this paper? Does anyone need it? Okay, I'm gonna try to write a little neater. That was kind of sloppy. So, Bichel says, what if we have negative 12 minus negative 2? This is different. This is different, isn't it? Tricky. So let's draw a number line. Okay, and let's put negative 12. As we go to the right, negative numbers are going to get smaller. We're going to have negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, and then let's see, negative 13, negative 14, negative 15. Okay, here's our starting point, negative 12. And let's look at the difference here. We have negative 12 minus 2 versus negative 12 minus negative 2. Let's do this. Okay, so if I start at negative 12 and I just take minus 2, just like we did earlier, we subtract 2 and we get negative 14. But if I subtract negative 2, remember negative numbers do the opposite. So when I subtract positive 2, I go to the left. If I subtract negative 2, I go to the right. I do the opposite. I'm going to go from negative 12 to negative 11, negative 10.
Why is that again?
So negative numbers, or the negative sign, is just like another word for opposite. Whenever we see minus a positive number, we go to the left. When I do minus a negative number, we go to the right. When I'm taking away a negative number, it's really the same thing as adding. So you see how we have two minus signs right beside each other?
Yeah, it makes them a plus.
They turn into a plus. It's like that little trick we talked about. These come together to become a plus. So negative 12 plus 2 is the same. And since these have different signs, we're kind of like subtracting, because 12 minus 2 is 10, but it's going to be negative 10 since we're starting with a negative number. Now, these are a lot of rules to memorize. So I will always suggest either using a number line, or don't be afraid to rely on a calculator if we need to. So let's look at our calculators. I can type in negative 12. So negative should be down here. Let me get one that looks like yours. Here's the negative sign. So here, let's practice using these. Negative 12. See that? And I'll type minus. Here's the minus sign. 2. Negative 12 minus 2. This should give us negative 14, right? And that one does give us negative 14. But when I do negative 12 minus negative 2, this is just minus 2. Minus negative 2 is going to be different. Negative 12 minus negative 2. See how that's typed a little different? And I hit enter, and I get negative 10. Same thing.
Do you have calculators?
Yes, there should be calculators at your tables. Let me pause this video and I'll come and help. Pause. Clear. Let's try typing in negative 25 plus 3. Type in negative 25 plus 3. So remember, your negative sign is on the bottom, the gray key on your calculator. Negative 25. Your plus is right here in the blue. 3. And then we just hit enter, the equal sign. And everyone should get negative 22. Everyone try that. And tell me if you get negative 22. Yes. You got it? Good. Good. Now how about you try typing negative 25 minus 3. So we got negative 22. Let's see, negative 25 minus 3, we get negative 28. Good. What about negative 25 plus negative 3?
Negative 28.
Ah, that's right. Negative 25 plus negative 3. That's negative 28. Now, what do you think is going to happen if I type in negative 25 minus negative 3? Are you going to get negative 28 or negative 22?
Negative 22.
Let's see. Let's type it in. Negative 25 minus negative 3. Negative 22. So let's look at what's similar and what's different. I see here, I got the same answer for these two. See how when we add 3, we get negative 22, and when we subtract negative 3, we get negative 22.
Because the bigger number is the...
Yes, yes. So let's look at this. The plus is the same thing as minus negative. Those go together. We get the same answer. We can also see that we get negative 28 when we do these. Whenever I subtract 3, I get negative 28. When I add negative 3, I get negative 28. So look at the pattern here. Let me put this in a little closer. You see what's happening here? when I have, let's see if I can kind of simplify this. Let's do the adding. Let me see if I can pull this out and make it make a little more sense. So, let's see. I'm going to move this up so that we only see what we need. We just need these four. So what we kind of discover here is that when I subtract a number, I subtract 3 minus 3. It's the same thing as adding negative 3. Subtracting 3 is the same thing as adding negative 3. Okay? When I subtract negative 3, it's the same thing as adding 3. It's like when you see those two minus signs right beside each other, we can turn it into a plus. When we see plus and minus beside each other, it turns into a minus. So the same signs stay the same. When they're different, it's a difference, that minus. And again, it's great to know this, but you will always be able to use your calculator. And if you can type these in, you'll be in great shape. Okay? Do we have any other questions about these? This is a little review.
Are these the same numbers that you wrote earlier?
Yes. I just moved it down. That's everything I wrote. This I just moved down here so they would be beside each other.
I got them all written.
It's okay, it's okay. Just kind of random. Okay. So let's go back to the variables. I'm going to just kind of move this over. What if I give you, let me look at some of these order of operations problems. How about negative 12 times n plus 3? Okay, so I have negative 12 times n plus 3, and I'm going to tell you that n equals negative 2. What'd you say? 27? Okay, 27 is a possible answer. Did anybody get a different answer?
Yeah, 27.
27, perfect. I'll give you guys a moment. Does anybody want to talk about how we would find this answer? How do we solve this? What would we do? How do we use n?
You turn the n to a negative 2.
Perfect. So let's replace n with negative 2. I'm going to write negative 12 times, instead of n, I'm writing negative 2 plus 3. So negative 12 times negative 2 plus 3. What is negative 12 times negative 2? 24. Good. And is it positive 24 or negative 24? Positive. The two negatives turn into a positive. So this gives us 24, and we still have plus 3. And that gives us 27. Very good. Nice. Very nice, guys. That is wonderful. Okay, how about I give you something a little different? what about n squared times 4? And this time n equals -5. N squared times 4 and n equals -5. Yes.
You take 5
Uh-huh.
times 5, which
Uh-huh.
is a positive 25.
Perfect.
And you can take it times 4.
Yes.
Oh, the answer's 100.
100. 100. Good. Okay, so I'm hearing everybody say 100 is the answer. Let's check that. So I'm going to take my -5 and replace it with n. -5 squared times 4. So -5 squared just means -5 times -5, which is what? 25. That's positive 25. We still need to do times 4, which is 100. Good. That's amazing, guys. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Very, very good. All right. So, do we feel comfortable replacing variables with their number values and trying to solve with the order of operations?
I do.
That's okay. Let's do some more practice. I think what I would like to do is give you guys a few to try on your own, and then I'm going to come around and help individually. And let's just see how we're doing. So I'm going to pause this, grab a little worksheet, and get some questions written down for you. So just one moment, I'm going to pause. All right, I'm going to do the worksheet here in just a minute. Before that, I actually want to talk about a few more things. So I'm going to start a fresh page of notes real quick. My page is getting messy. And let's just write down some rules for variables.
What were the rules that you were saying about left to right?
Left to right,
As far
on the
as,
number line?
yes.
Okay, so like for, do you mean the adding and the subtracting?
I think
And
so.
yes, okay, so let's do that. And I appreciate you asking. So let's draw a big number line. And put a 0 in the middle, minus, plus. Okay. Let me focus this. Okay. So whenever we add a positive number, let's write that. Add a positive number, we move to the right so that's adding a positive number. When we subtract a positive number, let's see, what direction do we move when we subtract a positive number?
Left.
To the left. Good. So subtract a positive number. Minus. I'm going to write
We did this in Mr.
in Dave's room.
Yes.
That's funny.
The steps always get me.
And that's so okay. We can review as much as we need. So when you add a positive, we go to the right. When you subtract a positive, we go to the left. And then we'll talk about negative numbers. Now, negative numbers behave differently. So, we'll say these are the positive number rules. And then we're going to write a side about negative number rules. So remember, negative numbers are literally the opposite of positive numbers. So whatever you would normally do for a positive number, a negative is going to do the opposite. So when I add a positive number, I go to the right. What do you think happens when I add a negative number? You're going to the left. You're subtracting. Good. Good. So adding a negative number, so I'm going to write that one in red. When you add a negative number, you're really going to the left. And then when you subtract a negative number, let's see, subtracting. When I subtract a negative number, am I going to the left or the right? So when I subtract a positive, I go to the left. What do I do for subtracting a negative? The opposite. We're going to go to the right. Negatives do the opposite. They do the opposite. Okay? And I'm going to say this again. As great as this is to know, as wonderful as it is to understand this, you can always use your calculator. So I would heavily rely on that as we get into more complicated things. Because I really think the more and more problems you do, even typing it in on your calculator, you start to see the patterns. Learning the rules is great, but I think the more practice we do, it will start to click more with your brain the more experience we have with it. And we'll do lots and lots of that practice as time moves forward. So just to give you some numbers to base this on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our positive numbers. Oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's our negative numbers. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go back to talking about some of our variables. Let's see here. What if I gave you a problem that has more than one variable in it? What if I gave you something like this? X minus y plus 3. And then what if I told you x equals 5 and y equals 1? What would I do here? We're going to plug them in, right? So what did you say? Say that again. What would I do to start here?
5 minus 1.
Good. Perfect. X is 5, so I'm going to write 5 minus 1, because y is 1. Plus 3. Right? So what do we do here first?
5 minus 1,
What's 5 minus 1?
4,
4. Good. We still have plus 3.
7.
7. Yes. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. So if you have more than one variable, you're doing the exact same thing. You're just matching the right letter to the right number that they give you. So what if I give you something even different? How about m minus n divided by 2, and m equals 6, then n equals 9. So what's the first thing we should do?
Plug in your numbers.
Let's plug in our numbers. Good. So I know m is 6. Here's my m. So let's start by writing 6 instead of m. And then we want to bring down this minus sign. And what's our value for n? 9. Good. So I have 6 minus 9 divided by 2. Okay. So now that I have it plugged in, what should I do first? Division. Good. So this one is a little different because 9 doesn't split evenly. We're going to get a decimal.
4.5.
Yes, yes, yes. We'll just type it in. 9 divided by 2, 4.5. So I have 4.5. And what needs to be brought down?
Minus 6.
Yep, 6 minus 4.5. 6 minus 4.5. I got 1.5. Is it 1.5 or is it negative 1.5?
Positive.
Positive. Why is it going to be positive? Why will this not give us a negative answer? Yes, we're just subtracting, and we start with 6 and we're taking away 4.5. 6 is bigger than 4.5, so we're not taking away everything and then some to get us to the negatives. We're just taking a few away from 6, so we still have 1.5 left. Okay, so 6 minus 4.5 is 1.5. And that would be our answer. Okay. Let's do one more together, and then I am going to have you guys try a few on your own. Do we have any questions about this one before we go to the next one? Okay. What'd you say?
That's mostly.
No, you're not. You're learning. That's what's happening. That's a good thing.
Johnson, too.
No, nobody in this room is stupid. You all are learning.
Sleepy.
Oh, I thought y'all were saying. I thought you guys were calling yourself stupid. I was like, guys, that's terrible. Oh,
Sleepy.
well, me too. Oh, I swear. Y'all were breaking my heart for a second. Oh, gosh, that's bad. Okay. Whew. Okay, let's try one more. We have 5 times x minus y. Now, before I even give you the values, what's happening here when I write something in parentheses besides we're multiplying 5 times whatever x minus y is. Okay? So I'm going to tell you x and I'm going to tell you y. We'll do what's in parentheses first. So let's see. X is, let's go with 6, and then y is 3. Ooh, 15. Let's see. So what do I do first?
Plug in your letters.
Plug in my letters, my variables. I've got an x, that is 6. I've got a y, that is 3.
Now you take 6 minus 3 to get 3.
Yes, I've got 5 times x is, we've got 6 minus 3. And I'm going to highlight those just so we can see where they're coming from. Okay, and then 6 minus 3 is 3. And we still have 5 and 3.
So 5 times 3 is 15.
5 times 3 is 15. Very good. Very, very good. That is wonderful, you guys. Okay. I have a worksheet. I'm going to pass this out for you guys. I want you to try some of these on your own. I will come around to help. And I know some of you have to leave early. I want to go ahead and assign our exit ticket. So if you are feeling good and you want to do the exit ticket and turn it in, you're welcome to. If you would like to stay and do practice, that's also fine. So when I pass this worksheet out, your exit ticket today is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So 1, 2, and 3 is going to be the day 9 exit ticket. Okay, so I am going to pass these out, and I'll be around to assist and help you guys. And I'm going to end that video right there, or pause it at least.